Hey everyone, worst comic podcast ever. Time for another daddy-daughter review. I'm John, this is Miranda. We're going to review
Season 2, Episode 4, The Fury of Firestorm.
It's The Flash coming up right after this. Alright everybody, now before we get started, I just want to say it's Game 1. As we're recording this, Game 1 of the World Series is on, so we're rooting for the Royals. They're the home team tonight, so a lot of our friends are watching the game right now. In fact, I'll probably be watching the game as soon as this gets done, and the cat will also be cheering on the Royals. Isn't that correct? Oh. Okay, so we're going to go through our normal process. We're going to start with highlights. So Miranda, why don't you talk about your first highlight here?
Best highlight for me this time, Jax joined Team Flash. I mean, you know how he was kind of hesitant at first to join Team Flash, but I liked that they added the element of him trying to think about it, because if it's just like, yeah, I want to be a superhero, that just doesn't seem realistic for like a 18, 20-year-old guy.
Well, in some ways it is, but I think it shows that his heart is in the right place.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to just jump in it for the glory. He wanted to go to college. He didn't get a chance to do that. Things didn't work out. But now he's got a chance to make a difference in another way. And I think it's really cool that he decided to go ahead and do that. I also thought it was cool they showed another guy who seemingly at first seemed like, hey, he's a really intelligent guy. He's a scientist and everything. But then it turned out that when you looked a little bit under the surface, he was not a good person at all.
And he in fact did become the bad guy of the episode.
Right, and it was a little different in that we didn't focus a long time on the bad guy. It wasn't like we saw the bad guy do several different attacks and there was all kinds of things.
We saw 3 different, two really, really main bad guys and one bad guy kind of, but we'll get into that later.
But I think that most of it was more about this. A lot of this episode was about character development and moving the characters' individual stories along, including that of Professor Stein and joining up with Jax. I also thought that they did a nice job of when the two of them merged together, they really did become a good team.
Yes.
It looks like they're not making them like butt heads all the time. And I thought Professor Stein had a good sense of humor with him, so I think this is going to be kind of a cool mentoring relationship between the two of them. All right, I'll talk about another one of the things that I really like about this show is the relationships between the different characters. So, for instance, Barry and Joe have a great, really father-son relationship. You know, Barry's dad gets out of prison, and then he takes off. But this season, I feel like Joe has really served as a dad to Barry.
Father figure.
Exactly, and he really is. He's the one who raised him.
Yeah.
But in this case, he gives him some good advice about dealing with Patty, and I feel like Barry has also helped Joe in some things to talk and open up to Iris.
Yeah.
Joe and Iris, I think, had some nice moments here, and I like it because in Arrow, a lot of these relationships are all messed up. Like everybody hates everybody, but then they love them, and then they hate them again. And I really feel like in this show, the main people really care about each other. I also thought that there were some nice moments between the professor and Caitlin, and helping with their relationship is really good too. So I was really pleased with all of that.
Arrow drama honestly sounds like middle school drama.
A little bit. It's a little bit like that. All right. And then you also wanted to mention this highlight.
The return of Harrison Wells. This is a huge one.
Yeah, we really only got to see him 2 little parts in this episode. The one in Mercury Labs, I'll mention a little bit more about that in a second, and then at the very, very end.
Yeah, where he saves Harry from the huge shark guy, which Dad will get into later.
Right, so Harrison Wells shows up at the end, saves basically Barry and Patty.
From Sharkzilla.
Right, and then we reveal his face, and it's Harrison Wells. We see in the trailer for next week, the preview for next week, it looks like Harrison Wells is going to be the main focus of next week's episode. Okay, Lowlights. I was a little concerned, like for me, how Iris treated her mom. I get it, there's a mystery, but she really didn't even give her a chance for her mom to answer the questions. She just kind of jumped down her throat and then left. Like, she's like, I'm an investigative reporter, but I'm going to ask these questions, and then before you can answer, I'm going to leave. That doesn't seem very investigative reporter-y like. But I get it, she's emotional, she's upset, she's worried about this whole thing, and so I'm very curious to see where this goes. I don't think we're done with that. Okay, Easter eggs too. One was, we mentioned the big shark guy. King Shark is who that character is, and we've seen him a lot in DC Comics in the pages of Suicide Squad, and so it looks like we may see him. Who knows, maybe we'll see him more. And then we've had the return of Tina McGee, who runs Mercury Labs, and she was a character that was in the original Flash TV show back in the 90s. Same character, interesting, because that previous Flash was played by the guy who plays Barry's dad in this show. All right.
Technically.
Right, since we haven't seen him.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw him more when he was in prison than we have since he's gotten out of prison.
Oh, the irony.
I think that's just because they didn't want Barry to have two father figures and think it'd be confusing. We're invested in Joe. Yeah, we're invested in Joe. Yeah, people like Joe. I think you're right. Okay, flash forwards. So we want to include flash forwards, things that we think are going to come up later on. What do you think?
Harrison Wells, people.
Yeah, Harrison Wells is a big one.
I mean, seriously.
And it looks like this is not Harrison Wells possessed by
Eobard Thawne.
Right? It looks like it's just Harrison Wells from Earth 2. That's what it looks like.
I have a feeling that most people out there will not trust him fully because of how he tricked Barry and Team Flash.
Yeah, exactly. I think they're going to be extremely suspicious. You think they were suspicious of Jay, and they didn't even know Jay Garrick. I mean, they didn't even know him, and they were suspicious of
They
him.
were just like, they kept him in Metahuman prison.
Right.
They were so worried about
Harrison Wells, they're going to be uber worried about this guy.
They are going to be taking footsteps.
Baby steps?
Yes, very precautious steps to make sure that everyone is safe, because they do not want a season 1 repeat.
Right. I think Iris's brother is, I think that's going to come back. I don't know if it'll come back next episode, but I think it is going to come back later on down the line. Maybe after Iris's mom dies, it may be that the brother shows up. We'll see. And then, obviously, the whole Firestorm thing, they fly away at the end. I don't know if we'll see them again before Legends of Tomorrow.
I really don't think we will be seeing them again.
Until Legends. Yeah, I think you're right. I think maybe we'll see them maybe one more episode, maybe right before Legends starts.
Right before Legends, I think that makes sense because, I mean, they have to be in the same area for Legends.
Right. All right. Well, I think that's it for episode 4 of The Flash. What would you give this episode?
7 or 8, maybe 9. Probably around the 9-ish area. Because I really liked how they're bringing everyone along, and and they found a new partner for Professor Stein.
Yeah, I agree. I liked a lot of the relationships between the characters. I thought there was some good action. The Firestorm stuff looks really sweet. I thought that was all well done. And I'll tell you what, Barry, Patty, come on, kids. Patty, she like adores you. Okay. Ask
I need to start shipping this.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to find a ship for it. If anyone has one, put it in the comments.
A relationship name for them. Like, what's an example of a ship?
Like Percy Jackson and Annabeth Chase in the series Percabeth.
Percabeth, right. So, Barady. Perry, Patty,
Please don't.
All right, well, we'll call it a day this time. See you guys next time for episode 5. And for us here for the Worst Comic Podcast Ever, for Colin and Jerry, this is John and Miranda. We'll see you guys next time, all right? Bye.